Bonsoir, Votre Excellence, ancienne ministre des Affaires étrangères, de la Défense intérieure, Justice de la France. Un honneur de vous avoir ici aujourd'hui avec nous à l'Institut de la diplomatie culturelle à Berlin. Good afternoon, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Defense, Interior and Justice of France. Thank you and an honor to have you here with us today in Berlin at ICD, the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy. My name is Nina, and today I would like to ask you some questions regarding different topics that have silent issues. And my start would be obviously because it is a global issue that we're all talking about, and it is global. So it is going to be about Ukraine and Russia. So my first question is, what is your opinion at the current situation that is going on between Ukraine and Russia? And do you think it is actually, or can it be considered as a war between the West and Russia? Please.
Bonsoir Nina, good afternoon Nina. First of all, about Ukraine, I'm thinking to the civil population. For them, I think it's awful. And you have to understand that the wars, the new wars, the modern wars, are generally the more hard for civil population. And that's the first one, because when you see the children, when you see the people who are hurted or dead or desesperated, with no food, with frozen weather, it's very, very difficult for them. Secondly, I think that nobody imagine the real strength of all the Ukrainian population to preserve their freedom, to preserve the integrity of their territory. Here, are we sure that in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Croatia, I don't know, we are really ready to give our life to protect our freedom. And I think it's a big lesson. The third lesson, or the third view, is about the necessity for each of us to have a real conscience of what we need to protect our way of life, to protect our country. Because we need military supplies. We need also a volunteer, like the Ukrainians are showing to us, to use it. I think that without the help of NATO, without the help of Western countries, Ukrainians couldn't have preserved their territory. But without the volunteer of the Ukrainian, I'm sure that the armament will do nothing. So I think we have also to understand that, to keep that in mind.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you mentioning about the West, and that is actually helping Ukraine and showing that they are here for them. What are the major challenges that EU then facing regarding the Ukraine? And also, we all know that there is a huge crisis going on in Ukraine right now. Do you think about some solutions for that?
Some solution, I'm not sure. But I think that question is a bit in touch with the past one, because I think that we want to help Ukraine, but also we don't want to be in war with Russia. And that is the limit. Because we try to help it giving to the Ukrainian government supplies, armaments, and so on. But we are very cautious, or when I say we are, NATO is very cautious, and the governments are very cautious not to be engaged in a real war. Because I think that we are very near of a global war.
Yeah.
And the UN Secretary General said that we are very, very near of the general extension of all the continents. And I think it's very important to say to Russia, you cannot do everything without our intervention. We don't agree what you want to do to go in a country to take a part of it. But in the same time, I think that it's very important to preserve the other country to the war. Because never forget that the civil population is always the most impacted by a war.
For example, we can see like actually Ukraine causes a huge inflation here in the West, and
yes, it's a part. We have not really the war like the Ukrainian can have, especially in the east of the country. But we have some consequences that we are looking with inflation, with the problem of the lack of energy, and also the lack of some how do you say, of some supplies.
Definitely, we can literally, everyone can notice this. Yeah, absolutely. I think this global problem can take years of explanation.
That is also the globalization, because when something occurs in a part of the world, generally there are consequences in each country.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, this is Ukraine and Russia is a huge topic, but also I'd like to mention one of the. It's not a war, thankfully for that, but it is actually starting to see this, and it is between the Western and China.
Yeah.
So I would like to. I would like to have your opinion regarding this. Do you think the international community should, or I would say should give some solutions, or can solve this issue that is going on between China and Western, and it is becoming more and more visible?
Yes, I think that the problem with China, the Western problem with China, is more today an economical one.
Yeah.
That really a military one. And I think that it's a good thing. So I think that there is a notion I never understand, because it is not used as often as it could. It is the reciprocity. Alors, je ne sais pas si c'est en français, si ça se dit en anglais. It's the same words. And I think that it's important too, because it's a mark of respect. When you say, I agree what you want, if you agree what I want, I think it's a real equilibrium. And I think China can offer us many things very important, but we have also to understand that we gave to China many opportunities some years ago. First of all, we accept or we help our companies to go to China, because they pay less the labors when they are doing. But in China, as they have a very ancient civilization too, never to forget that. They are also going more and more in technology and in technology field. And now, during a long time, we were always a step more than China, a scientific step like China. And so we have a kind of superiority. Mm-hmm. But now you have to understand that China is able also to have more and more sophisticated technology in space or in phone and so on. And that is where is really the conflict.
Yeah.
Between
the
both.
Source of the issue. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your answers. So my questions are all this from, but my colleague actually has a few questions that she would like to ask. Mm-hmm. So I will leave it to her.
Okay. Yes. I think it would be necessary to have more than 3 or 4 hours to have a real answer to that question. I saw that NATO is very important, but it changed its mind and it changed the finality. Because I remember when I became defense minister, for the first time, Russia was seated in the table of NATO. Yeah, it was the first time, not directly in the team of NATO, but there was just when we stopped our works. Russia entered, and we had a common reflection about the war. So NATO was built to protect Europe, but also USA, United States, against, comment dit-on, l'URSS? I don't remember. Soviet Union, yes, Soviet Union. So when Russia was seated in the same table, NATO has no more sense. And I was there when we decided, and France had a great role in that, to authorize NATO to go to Afghanistan. So to have a reason outside of Europe or United States, Canada, and so on. So it changed all that. So today, I'm in favor of NATO, and I think it's a good thing to have the capability to fight all together, or more exactly, to represent a real pole for dissuasion against war. But I want also that the European Union has its own defense. I am a great believer in European defense because I think that Europe can have some specific interest to do something, to help France or to protect themselves. Even if, for a reason or another, United States don't want or cannot go and protect or intervene. I think European defense is not against NATO. It's a part, and it will remain a part. But I think it's necessary to have a better thought about what we need to protect ourselves, our freedom, our borders, our way of life. And today in Europe, I think that Germany and France are doing many, giving money for that, but some countries need to make more effort for that. I think that with the Ukraine war, there is a progress by some countries like Poland or some northern countries. But it's important too.
And like, do you think Turkey will ratify the acceptance of Sweden and Finland?
I think so. I think so because I tried when I was defense minister, we made for European Union some action, especially in Congo, to protect population or to help election to be regular. And I inspect the troops from Sweden in particular, or Finland, and I think they are in the same model and in the same stage that are the others. So I think it's necessary, and I think it's a good thing to have all the European countries in European defense and all the European countries too in NATO.
And do you think that like Turkey, let's say, is a reliable partner in like times of war?
I think it's difficult because it was some times ago, and the evolution of Turkey sometimes creates some problems because his position is not always in the same way. And if you want to be able to fight all together, you need to have the same choice.
My next question concerning the cultural diplomacy. How important is cultural diplomacy in your opinion? And what role do you think cultural diplomacy can play in the new world order?
Well, I think I came here first time 10 years ago, I think. And often I came here for conferences. My English is not better. And I think it's important to understand that diplomacy is more than the action of diplomats. And we have to have a global concept of diplomacy. Because the diplomacy is not only the discussion to stop or to prevent war, but it's also necessary to have a comprehension between the different peoples and between the countries. So I think what you are learning here is very important, and maybe the most important is that you have relationship all together. And I think that in 20 or 30 years, when you will be in charge as a minister or great administrator and so on, it will be important that you have confidence and you can have a dialogue. Never stop the dialogue. I think it's the most important.
It's the key.
It's the key.
Thank you for your advice.
So my last question, as a senior politician, what's your message for the future generation of young leaders, which is like you have just like said part of it later on, earlier?
First, it's important that you understand that the world depends also of what you will do. And so you are all of, each of you is concerned by the world. And I think it's also important that you understand that the respect and tolerance is necessary, more than all. So, and as you are women have many things to do.
Yes,
Okay.
I think we came to the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
time and it was really an honor and privilege to have you here with us today and to talk with you and to learn from you. So thank you.
And
so
next
much.
time we shall speak in French, so it will be easy. Okay. Well, maybe we shall try. Okay. Très bien. Alors, merci à tous et surtout merci à toutes. Et tous mes vœux vous accompagnent dans votre carrière. Au revoir.